The Force is with you, young Skywalker.
But you are not a Jedi yet.
Hello everyone and welcome to Kyber Chronicles and welcome back to another review of The Acolyte. Today we are reviewing episode 5 titled Night. And wow, what an action-packed and intense episode this was. I'm really excited to talk about this one with you. This episode starts right where we left off in the last episode, with the Master showing up and attacking the Jedi. We open with Osha, who wakes up in the middle of the forest, dazed and confused. As she slowly gathers herself, she can hear lightsabers clashing in the distance, and we cut to see the Stranger fighting with what looks like 4 to 5 Jedi at once, including Yord. The Stranger parries and slashes at the Jedi, and as he kicks 2 away, he then blocks an attack and instantly cuts down the Jedi. Straight away, we are seeing that this guy is no joke and means business. We then see the Stranger clashing with 2 other Jedi as he uses his helmet and gauntlet to deflect the lightsabers. At first, I thought this was Mandalorian steel, but when I noticed that the lightsabers had been shorted out, I knew it was cortosis. For those unfamiliar with cortosis, it is a material that has a high energy absorption rate and transmission coefficient, which means it can dissipate a blaster bolt and short out lightsabers upon contact. This has appeared in many legends and canon material over the years and was encountered by Anakin Skywalker in the book Thrawn Alliances, as in that book there was a factory building droids with cortosis being added to their armor. I love the inclusion of this material, and seeing it in action here against the Jedi is such a cool idea. While the 2 Jedi's lightsabers have been disrupted, Yord steps in and blocks the Stranger from dealing a killing blow, but unfortunately, Yord is quickly countered and then slashed in the leg. The Stranger then attacks the other 3 Jedi, cutting one down and stabbing another, as he then uses the Force to pull another 3rd Jedi into their colleague and impales them upon the blade. This was a savage move, and so far we are seeing the Stranger cut through Jedi like weeds in a field. His relentless attacks, fluid movements and unusual armor is showing that the Stranger, whoever they are, is very resourceful, skilled and powerful. As the Stranger approaches Yord to kill him, Osha takes a shot at him with her stun blaster, and as expected, it does nothing due to the cortosis helmet. This distracts the Master long enough for him to lose interest in Yord and pursue Osha instead. We then cut back to May, who is still hiding in Master Kelnacker's hut as she looks for a way out, and then finds Kelnacker's lightsaber and takes it. We jump back into the action with Osha being pursued by the Stranger, who is hiding in the shadows. He then throws his lightsaber at her, but it is deflected just in time by Master Sol. Sol orders Osha back to the ship as Yord grabs her and leaves for safety, as Sol stays behind to confront the Stranger. Sol asks the Stranger who they are, and the Stranger responds with, "You don't remember me," and Sol replies to this with, "I sense something familiar." I found this an odd interaction because it seems to suggest surprise from the Stranger that Sol doesn't recognize him, and from Sol saying he can sense something familiar, it could mean it's someone he knows, maybe from his past, or it could just be a way of getting inside Sol's head. We cut back to May as she leaves Kelnacker's hut, but then is confronted by Jackie, who attempts to restrain May. The 2 then engage in hand-to-hand combat. This was a great way to see some more hand-to-hand combat skills from Jackie, who shows that she is very well trained. The fight with Sol and the Stranger continues, as Sol is so far the only one capable of holding his own against him. The 2 break apart again for another exchange, and this once again gives us a few interesting details. Sol tells the Stranger to remove his mask and show his face, and the Stranger answers with, "So you can read my thoughts. No, no, no." It seems like he's suggesting this cortosis mask can also block the Jedi from reading minds through the Force. I'm also really curious about where or how the Stranger acquired the gauntlet and mask, or how he learned to make them, because it seems like ancient tech that's no longer used, especially with how old and battle-worn the mask looks. Sol then asks the Stranger what kind of master hides his face from his pupil, and the Stranger responds with, "You tell me." I love these little comments from the Stranger that keep just jabbing at Sol. Back with Yord and Osha, they hear Jackie scream, who is still fighting with May. Osha urges Yord for them to head back, but Yord disagrees. Osha then asks Yord, "What is he?" referring to the Stranger, and Yord replies with, "I don't know. He doesn't follow the rules of combat. There's no method to his movements. He gets in your head and he stays there." Osha responds with telling Yord her mother could get inside a Jedi's head, which we had seen with what Mother Anastasia did to Torbin on Brendok. Now, is this implying a connection between the Stranger and the witches? I think yes, but not in the way you might think. To me, I think it's implying that both the technique Mother Anastasia and the Stranger use comes from the dark side of the Force. Sol continues his fight with the Stranger, who manages to knock Sol down and then vanishes. I really enjoy how sinister and creepy the stranger feels in this episode. It's also really cool to see him using different tactics. A great example of this is his use of theatrics to seem more menacing, like when he came floating down from the trees like some kind of wraith. The intensity and overwhelming speed of his attacks, how he hides in shadows like a predator stalking his prey. Also, the way he utilizes movement with the mask and its design is just so cool. To me, it gives off a slasher horror villain vibe. We then cut back to Jackie's fight with May as Jackie finally restrains her in handcuffs. Jackie also notices May has taken Kelnacker's lightsaber and takes it back off her. At this moment, Jackie senses something and reacts in time to block an attack from the stranger, and the two engage in combat. I really enjoy this fight with Jackie and the stranger. It shows that Jackie has been well trained and has some real decent skill with a lightsaber. I thought it was cool when Jackie's lightsaber got shorted out that she immediately switched to Kelnacker's, and then hers came back on and it allowed her to dual wield with two lightsabers. This reminded me of when Anakin fought Count Dooku in Attack of the Clones. I think Jackie does well in this moment to hold out against the stranger, but clearly he is still too strong and skilled for her as he cuts one of the lightsaber hilts and takes this chance to disappear after the distraction. May's master finally catches up to her and nearly slashes her, but she ducks just in time. As he is about to kill May, Master Sol and Jackie show up to stop him. We then get an awesome team-up fight with Jackie and Sol fighting the stranger together, but he is still determined to go after May, who was attempting to escape. Back with Osha and Yord, and Osha hears her sister's voice whispering to her through the Force. Osha pleads with Yord to go back and help the others as she fears May's master will kill them all. Osha comes up with a plan to lure the Umbra Moths to follow them with her light. Jackie and Sol are still fighting with the stranger and seemingly have him on the back foot. While Sol's lightsaber gets shorted, he resorts to hand-to-hand combat to defend himself. Jackie then steps in with her lightsaber to keep up the attack and manages to break the Cortosis helmet. Suddenly, the stranger splits his blade into two blades and stabs Jackie through the chest 3 times and kills her. I honestly was so shocked by this. Not only had I grown attached to the character, but she showed such potential as a Jedi and put up such a great fight. It was really sad to see Jackie go out in such a cold and ruthless way. Not only is Jackie killed, but it's finally revealed that Kyber is May's master. Now, this reveal I find was a little too obvious, but when I think back on it, I think it's supposed to be. He was very disappointed when May used a potion on Torbin. He was also very pushy about May killing a Jedi without a weapon, and he seemed very angry when May said she'd betrayed the master. Now it is revealed that Kyber is the master. He taunts Sol by saying, "Is that its name?" when Sol calls out to Jackie. Sol then responds with, "She was a child," and Kyber replies with, "You brought her here." This is an obvious provocation, but also a truth Sol can't quite deny. I love how everything Kyber says is to provoke an emotional reaction or to contradict the Jedi in some way. After this, Kyber then force pulls May to him as her guard is dropped by the surprise reveal. Sol attempts to stop him, but is blocked. Kyber then turns his lightsaber off and points the hilt at May's head. He then jabs at Sol, pointing out that attacking him when his back is turned is not very Jedi-like. Sol then throws his lightsaber down and asks Kyber, "What are you?" Kyber responds with, "I have no name, but the Jedi like you might call me a Sith." Sol then asks what he wants, and Kyber answers with, "Freedom to wield my power the way I like, without having to answer to Jedi like you." Kyber also adds that he wants a pupil and an acolyte. I have seen some people discuss if this confirms Kyber is a Sith or not based on this statement, and in my personal opinion, I think Kyber is more likely a Sith, and here are my reasons why. Firstly, he quoted part of the Sith code when we first encountered him on Olega. He was also in disguise on Olega near a Jedi temple right under the Jedi's nose. That was a little similar to Palpatine in the prequels. Another reason is he wants an acolyte, similar to the Sith's rule of 2. This could be to take down a master, or it could be because he wants to consolidate power, and as a master and apprentice, he would be capable of wielding even greater power. Lastly, and I think this is the strongest argument, his lightsaber and combat skills fit with the style of a Sith. They also use any means to win: deception, distraction, the Force, brutality. These are all Sith methods. Also, his Cortosis helmet and gauntlet is specifically designed for lightsaber combat, and the only people in the galaxy using lightsabers are the Jedi and the Sith. To me, the evidence is undeniable that Kyber is more than likely a Sith, but the real question is, what is his story? At this point in the fight, Yord shows up and uses the Force to grab Kymea's fallen mask and rushes him with his lightsaber. Kymea counters Yord's blade with his gauntlet, shorting it out as Yord uses the mask to block Kymea's blade and short that out also. Unfortunately, Yord is quickly grappled as Kymea breaks his arm and then grabs him in a chokehold and brutally breaks Yord's neck. Now at this point in the episode I had to pause it because first we lost Jackie, which I was not ready for, but I really wasn't ready to lose Yord as well. And for him to go out like this especially, it was so quick and unexpected. From a narrative standpoint though, it is a bold move to kill two main characters like this because it proves two things to the audience. One, this guy's a genuine threat, and two, no character is safe. This really helps to boost the tension and anxiety and the threat level of the episode. May then attempts to escape in the chaos, but Osha spots her and quickly stuns her with her blaster. Having just seen Yord get brutally murdered by Kymea, this sends Sol into a rage and he puts a beat down on Kymea. He physically overwhelms Kymea as he punches, headbutts and kicks him to the ground. Sol then picks up his lightsaber with the Force and ignites it as he grabs Kymea by the scruff and is about to behead him, until Osha calls out to Sol and snaps him out of his emotional state. I thought this was great because we've seen the emotional wall Sol has up be gradually worn down, and in this moment of grief he clearly starts to tap into his rage and pain. This clearly pushes Sol to start tapping into the dark side. I also remember thinking it's a good thing Sol isn't a Sith right now, because if he was, he would be a force to be reckoned with. In this moment we get another great taunt from Kymea on Sol, who says to Osha, "This is your master. You still trust him after everything he's done to you." Master Sol reacts to this with saying his mind is twisted by darkness, and Kymea taunts again with, "I've accepted my darkness, what have you done with yours?" I love how Kymea keeps taunting and also hinting at Sol's secrets that he's been keeping. What is really curious though is Kymea seems to know about May and Osha's past and what happened on Brendok. So my question is, how does he know about that? Did May tell him, or is there more to his story that we have yet to learn? In this moment, Sol is snapped out of his rage, and Osha attaches Pip's head with the torch on the back of Kymea, and the Umbra Moths attack him and drag him away. Osha then questions Sol about what Kymea meant by not trusting him, but before he can answer, May stuns Sol in the back, knocking him unconscious. Next, we finally get a scene with Osha and May reunited, and this interaction was also very interesting. May seems happy to see Osha, whereas Osha is immediately judgmental and cold towards May. Osha asks, "What have you done?" and May responds with, "I did what I needed to do. For you, for our family." Osha responds with, "Everything you have ever done has been for yourself. All these lives lost tonight again because of you." Osha also tells May that she is the violent one, that she started the fire. This seems to upset May as she tells Osha the Jedi have brainwashed her and turned her against May. May then tells Osha it's okay because she can return her to herself and asks her not to choose the Jedi again. Now I found this whole interaction very telling because it seems like May is acting very emotional and warm towards Osha in this moment and hasn't done anything to harm or even blame Osha, while Osha immediately starts with contempt and condemnation for May. It seems like Osha doesn't have all the facts and is blindly hating May without even hearing her side of the story. Osha and May get into a bit of a confrontation after this exchange, and Osha is then knocked unconscious. May then cuts her hair short with a lightsaber to look more like Osha's. We cut back to Kymea, who is alive and has killed all the Umbra Moths, and as he walks away we see Basil pick up Pip's head. So yay for Pip, let's hope he's reassembled in the next episode. We then head back to what looks like Osha helping Sol up, but it's safe to assume that this is really May disguised as Osha. Lastly, we then see Kymea, who has found an unconscious Osha on the floor and covers her up rather than kill her, and the episode ends on a really ominous note. This confirmed that May is with Sol and Osha is with Kymea, so I'm assuming the switcheroo means Osha will be tested by Kymea, who will offer the dark side to her, and May will attempt something with Sol to either learn what happened on Brendok or try to kill him. And that covers my review of episode 5, and honestly, wow, what an episode. So much happened with its action, reveals, casualties, switch-ups, and more mystery. This for me was the strongest episode since episode 1. The standouts of this episode for me were Manny Jacinto as the Master and Lee Jung-jae as Master Sol. Manny really sold the cold, ruthless killer, and I really liked his subtle movements and facial expressions. Also, his lightsaber skills were just unreal. Easily one of the best lightsaber fights in the Disney era, save for Maul vs Ahsoka in Attack of the Clones Season 7. I also liked how anguished Lee was able to portray Master Sol in this episode. It kind of reminded me of Elzar Mann from the High Republic books in the Eye of the Storm. In that book, he is struggling to deal with the difficulties of his past mistakes, being powerless to protect those he cares about, and also wrestling with his inner darkness. I can genuinely see why Lee Jung-jae was chosen for this role as Master Sol. The inclusion of cortosis was also a really cool little detail, and the dialogue was also pretty good, and it gave us some answers while also adding a few more questions. So that concludes my review of episode 5. I hope you're enjoying the videos. I am pushing hard to get other videos and reviews up as soon as I can. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on this episode in the comments below, and remember to keep it civil, please. That's it from me. I'll see you in the next video. Take care, and may the Force be with you.
I'll show you the dark side.